So the biggest part of solving by factoring is that you have to write each factor equal to 0. But what is a factor? What makes something a factor? Because a lot of people think a factor just means like it's x plus a number or x minus a number, and that's not necessarily true. So a factor is anything that has the variable in it. So most of the time that variable is x. Let's look at this first thing right here. Is this a factor? X minus 2. Yes, that would be considered a factor once we have done our factoring. Just like this one half x plus 4 is also a factor. It's got an x in it. A little bit trickier one, is x squared considered a factor? Well, does it have an x in it? Then it's a factor that we can set equal to 0. Same with 9x. It doesn't have to have plus or minus a number. It's got an x, it's a factor. What about the number 21? Is the number 21 something that is a factor? No, it is not, because it doesn't have an x. Now, why does this matter? Because all of these, if we set them equal to 0, we would get an answer when we get x by itself. So here, x is going to be 2. In our third example, if we take the square root of both sides, x is 0. If we look at this one and we divide both sides by 9, again, x is going to be 0. But let's look at this last one. If we set 21 equal to 0, there's no x. And what we're saying is that 21 equals 0. Does 21 equal 0? That doesn't even make sense. Okay, so if it doesn't have the variable in it, it's not a factor. If it has a variable, it's a factor, and we need to set it equal to 0 and solve. So let's take that idea and look at the next one right here. This will come up most often with this kind of problem where we take out a greatest common factor. So we practiced these earlier. What is the greatest common factor in 3x squared plus 18x? Well, 3 and 18 are both divisible by 3, and both terms have an x. Factoring is dividing, so 3x squared divided by 3x, we would leave 1x. 18x divided by 3x would be 6. And how many factors do we have here that we need to set equal to 0? There are 2. The obvious one that everybody gets is the x plus 6. But since 3x has an x in it, we must also set that equal to 0. And so we get 2 answers for this quadratic equation. X equals -6 and x equals 0. And a lot of students miss the 0. You can't just divide everything by x. That's not how this works. Solving by factoring, you can't divide by x. You have to factor out the x. It's a different way of doing it. All right, let's look at this second example. Notice I had a little typo. This should be a squared, not a cubed. But there's not x's in all of these. But what is common in all of these? Well, 735 and 168 are all divisible by 7. So we're going to factor out a greatest common factor of 7. And that'll leave us with x squared minus 5x minus 24. If we take 735 and 168 and divide them all by 7, this is what's left. And then we would have to further factor this. What multiplies to -24 and adds to -5? Well, that's going to be x minus 8 and x plus 3. Now, how many factors do I have here? Well, x minus 8 is definitely a factor. X plus 3 is definitely a factor, but is 7 a factor? No, because if we set 7 equal to 0, does 7 equal 0? No, and there's no x to solve for. So that is not one of our factors. And so again, we get 2 answers out of this question. And in this case, they are 8 and -3. But notice taking out that greatest common factor, even though it didn't give us another answer, it did make the factoring bit easier.